Is running actually good for you? That is what we are discussing this week on the Running Channel podcast with me, Rick Kelsey.
Me, Andy Baddeley.
And me, Sarah Hartley. We're also going to be going through the latest running news and answering your questions too.
This is the most professional we've ever been. What's wrong?
I did just hit the mic, so...
Oh, right, good.
I saved it.
Otherwise it would have been too smooth.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just get into it.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Hello.
I don't know what day
Little traveller.
little traveller, yes. I don't know what day of the week it is, nor what time it is. My body is in a whole world of trouble.
Did you fly to Japan over the North Pole?
No, I did not. No, I did not. You said this to me in the office just before we came into record, and I laughed because I thought it was such a stupid question. But then I thought I don't want to dismiss it out of hand. So I did just do a very quick Google, and it turns out you could go on the polar route.
So generally the polar route is what JAL, Japan Airlines, take.
Okay.
Now, it was the old route that we used to take when we flew from London to Tokyo in the 1970s and 80s when they had to stop in Anchorage in Alaska to refuel. But now, of course, the 737 Boeings have got a much longer fuel capacity.
You stopped in Anchorage in Alaska, so you'd go west.
Yeah, but now
we went
they've gone back to that.
Left, Sarah would have gone left.
Because
for context, by the way,
yes.
I've just been to Tokyo. I think we missed that bit.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, yeah.
So I've just...
Sorry, I was enthralled by Rick's little history lesson.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, so you went to Tokyo for a day or two, didn't you?
Yeah, I landed Thursday and flew out Sunday.
To do some commentary?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, how did that go?
Oh, my goodness me. So I was commentating on the Tokyo Speed Race, a World Athletics race, in Tokyo where some of the best athletes in the world have flown in for a 5K and a 10K. So around this street circuit in Tokyo, near the World Athletics Championships, or the stadium where that's going to be later this year.
Nice.
Our commentary is hard.
It is hard.
So hard. And I think I knew this, but at the same time, it's very easy to sit at home, me as an athletics fan, listen to commentary, and you immediately spot when someone makes a mistake where you're like, oh, well, it's obviously not that. What are you talking about? Oh my goodness, I think I made so many mistakes.
Yeah, you're not someone who deals well with, trying to do two things at once.
Yes.
Didn't you have talkback?
I did have talkback. So I had headphones on with a little microphone.
So good.
And then you get directions from the director. Actually,
you had a director?
Yes.
And how many people was this broadcast to?
Well,
Did you find out?
Globally.
Have you heard it? I would quite like to hear this.
No, I need to watch it.
It was on the World Athletics YouTube channel, and it was being broadcast locally as well. So if you were in the vicinity of the start-finish, you could hear our commentary. The talkback I did find very difficult. So you are talking at the same time as, I know Rick's a broadcaster, so I guess you're more used to this, but you get people in your ear telling you what's about to come next whilst you're talking, and your natural instinct is to stop talking, to listen to what you're being told.
I used to do the footy, and it takes a lot of getting used to someone talking in your ear.
And I'm definitely
buzzing to listen back to this.
I enjoyed it. Thankfully, alongside me, I had Kath Mary, who is Olympic bronze medalist from the 400 metres at the Sydney Olympics in 2000. I've met her lots of times. She's lovely, and she had interviewed me when I was competing still. So for the various broadcasters she's worked for, and so she's a pro at this. Thankfully, so she absolutely
she was like excellent.
Yeah, she's like, who's this guy? I've been this hospital pass I've had.
But did you take the polar route?
Oh, no. We went east from London to Tokyo, and we flew the
Europe and then Asia.
Yeah, exactly that.
Underneath Russia.
Yes, correct.
Not over it.
Correct.
Okay, well that was basically what we're more interested in.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you did
took?
Brilliantly. Did you manage to squeeze in a few runs while you were out there?
I did. I ran around the route they were racing on, and then I had a little explore on my final morning. I do feel a bit all over the place. But yeah, it turns out commentary is hard. So I definitely remember at least one mistake. I made way more than that. But one mistake was when someone was talking to me in my ear at the same time as I was talking about the race leader in one of the women's races. And I said that even though I could see their name on the screen, I could see the flag, and I'd done all my research. So I had extensive notes. So I knew that this person was from Kenya, and I said Canada. So I don't know why, but that's what happened when someone told me.
We talk about Canada a lot on this
Must be. It must be. And we had reams of notes in front of us, and it's amazing how much.
Tim Hortons.
Yes, exactly. It's amazing how much prep goes into that stuff.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll take the polar route when we go in September.
Oh, God.
Yes. I think I don't.
And cross the international date line. You do when you do that route.
When you go
that
west.
West.
Does it really get fixated on stuff, and then that's all you talk
just
about?
Can't stop looking at this map.
It looks like you had a phenomenal time. You got to try out some very speedy new shoes as well.
Yes, that was bonkers. So it was the release of the new Metaspeed series from Asics. It was a really cool event, and I enjoyed it, and I can't wait to go back. Actually, Tokyo is a magical place, and I didn't feel like I got to see enough of it.
You did a bit of running though.
Yeah, I did a bit of running. I also did a live Q&A in the middle of the night on the Running Channel Club whilst I was out there, so people could ask me what was going on.
Oh, cool. What I loved as well is there were obviously lots of journalists there, and we obviously meet loads of journalists, follow them on social media, and I loved seeing the behind the scenes on some people's Instagram stories so you saw the new shoe and then it dropped. The embargo was lifted so everyone could start talking about it at 10 a.m. UK time, and I think someone did an Instagram story of the coach at 9:45 UK time.
Yes, I had a few chats with a few journalists where
everyone just huddled over phones frantically doing stuff.
Yes, 15 minutes prior to embargo lifting, but also with at that point no Wi-Fi because on the coach.
Yeah,
so I think there was some very stressed people. So yeah, it was a great trip. I'm very excited to share it with you guys.
Nice.
Later this year.
And Rick, before we go there, you're training for something very exciting at the moment.
Yeah. Well, actually, you kind of have done a little bit of this with me. So you and I went out to your old stomping ground, Clapham, last week. We were doing some training for the Hackney half marathon, which is coming up very shortly, next Sunday, as this goes out. And I am trying to run Hackney half in negative splits.
Yeah. This is your new challenge that you set yourself.
Yeah, this is my challenge. So the second half, basically try and run that at a quicker time than the first half.
The opposite to the usual Rick Kelsey pacing strategy.
Which I think is actually a really great challenge to be taking on, because obviously so many people we saw at London Marathon, for example, or other races this year where it's been a little bit hotter on the day than anticipated. Hackney half is the 18th of May, which in the UK could be anything from snowing to
25 degrees.
Yeah, you want to rip your skin off, it's so hot. So I actually think this is such a good way of being okay, no, I want to train, I want to feel motivated, I want to go out, I want to have fun. If anyone hasn't heard of Hackney Half Marathon, international listeners, it is such a community party. Yeah. It's so well known.
It's one of the big halves, isn't it?
And it's so well known for kind of everyone comes out onto the street, has a really good time, has a big party. Some people run it for PB, some people run it for just the vibes and the atmosphere. I think you're going to maybe potentially have the best of both worlds, because you'll spend the first half going out having a good time, and then second half knuckle down.
It's a lot of people's introduction to running as well. There's loads of people that run their first mass participation event there because of that community focus. Sorry, I think I interrupted you, Rick.
Every year the medal is amazing.
Oh, is it?
I'm so jealous of it.
Oh, how exciting. Elizabeth is going to love that. Don't know where all my medals are, apart from they're somewhere under her bed. No, I am supercharged for it, and I think one of the things I was not concerned about, but certainly was on my mind was, I had the first big race back where I came and did Oxford with you in October, and then we went to Malaga, and I was like, I'm going to try and run a half marathon personal best, and then you go, what do you do? Because you can't be going for PBs all the time, even if you just want to kiss the PB. Kissing the PB, by the way, a lot of people ask me this question over the weekend.
What does it mean?
What does it mean? It means you are touching your PB and not going so far past it that for the next few years it's out of reach.
Yeah,
you're always giving yourself an opportunity, some jeopardy to go and kiss, touch it, embrace it, and maybe beat it again. Or in Rick's case,
he's always ensuring that we still need him at the running channel.
Yes, exactly.
And he doesn't get to the stage where he can't run PBs anymore.
I think it's inspired by, it was Sergei Bubka, the pole vaulter, and then now Mondo Duplantis. So it's every time you go for a world record, it's even if you could go 10 centimetres over it, why you just do it by 1 centimetre? Because then you get another chance at the next meet.
I thought I created it. Oh, well, there you go.
Well, speaking of you, Rick, I've got a little aside for everybody here. So there's a brilliant post in the Running Channel Club from Oliver. He says, nicknames for Rick. With Andy's new nickname, Noodles, that they really hope catches on. So that's because of my...
Noodles, because your arms.
My lovely daughter says that I always skip arm day in the gym. And Sarah being dubbed Princess Snarky by Ross Noble. It had me wondering, what is Rick's podcast nickname?
Nice. Can we just send best wishes to Ross Noble, who's been unwell?
Okay.
Hi Ross, if you're listening, get better soon.
Wishing you all the best and a speedy recovery. So we've got a few great ones here, a lot of them Gavi themed. So there's a few just very simple ones. Christine says hot tub Rick. Good.
I kind of love it.
Does what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
Thomas said Captain Gavi.
Like that.
Captain Gavi.
This is my personal favourite from Edward. Bjorn motivated. because of Rick's admission that he just never struggles with motivation. He was born motivated. Abby says glitch
What's the
magnet, which was
Bjorn
related to your Bjorn.
Yeah.
Well, because that's an actual name, isn't it? As opposed to born motivated.
Oh, sorry, right. Got it.
Born motivated is not really a name. Bjorn motivated.
Bjorn motivated. Okay, nice.
Sir Gavialot.
Oh, that's good.
Was
Yeah,
from Colin.
nice.
And then Dave says Captain Gadget, but I think Inspector Gadget actually would be a pretty would be a pretty good name. So there you go. Please email in podcast@therunningchannel.com with any more nicknames for Rick.
The annoying thing is that you two tend to start things and then they get picked up. I was at a birthday party on the Wirral at the weekend. Birkenhead Park Run, by the way, 915 runners.
People heard you were coming.
Crazy. Kissed the PB. And
Oh yeah, did you get a PB at the weekend?
Kissed it. I literally just ran another 22:38, but that was because my watch went AWOL.
But what was your
I don't
PB
think
before?
it was my watch's fault, but my
Oh
watch
no, it's
went
definitely
AWOL.
your fault.
Yeah. It said that my first kilometre was 5:19, so I just started. I was like, oh right, okay, so I know. So that's the type of shape I'm in. It's now telling me how my body is today.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'll just jog around. And
Is that how you? That is so funny. It gets to the end of the first kilometre.
then I was like, I'll speed it. Oh, I'm going too slow. I'll go faster, but I'm not going to go hell for leather.
Yeah.
And came in 22:38.
And what is your personal best?
Wow.
22:38.
Oh, right. So you sort of literally,
Wow, so you're
on it.
literally in PB shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, but saying that, I mean, I'm just because of how erratic, not erotic,
Yeah.
the weather has been. Of like the idea of like running 18 kilometers this week ahead of next week in the heat doesn't really
It's nice and cool
excite
this week,
me.
so you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But you were going to say that news has travelled to the Wirral.
Oh yeah. So I'm at this party in the Wirral, and honestly, this is someone's wife who I'd not met before.
So I like to imagine that you enter parties on the Wirral, you slam the door open and you just go, hello, it's Rick from the Running Channel.
It's Hot Tub Rick.
Yeah.
It's Captain Gavin.
This guy's easy his own
It's
nicknames.
Bjorn motivated.
I was in a purple Hawaiian shirt. And
course you were.
Was there a theme?
this honestly, this woman comes up to me.
There wasn't a theme. Was
Never
there?
haven't
a
met her
theme.
before. Someone's wife. Haven't met her before. And go, how much Botox have you actually had?
What did you say?
None.
And were you like,
Everyone's laughing.
Were you
Sorry, I
surprised? Were you
can't
surprised to? Were you surprised that she asked you that? She definitely wouldn't have been able to tell whether you were surprised.
Well, I just replied, "Hi, I'm Rick."
With absolutely no movement of your forehead.
I reckon he draws lines on.
Yeah.
I think that's what he
For
does.
expression.
Yeah.
I think so too. Can we talk about you for a sec, Sarah? I've got something else.
Yeah.
So I've come laden with notes.
Here we go.
So I appreciate that sub 20 minutes was a big goal.
Yeah.
A huge accomplishment and so on.
Oh god.
But have you heard about 8-year-old Lily?
No.
So 8-year-old Lily, bear with me 1 second while I get her surname up. Lily Jan Mohammed completed a 5K run in an impressive 20 minutes and 16 seconds during the Battersea Park run at the weekend.
An 8-year-old.
Yeah. 20 minutes and 16 seconds.
Not a sub 20 though, is it, Lily?
Oh, Sarah.
Tough luck. Back to the
I
drawing
remember
board.
being around 2015, 2016.
I think I can see a video. I can see a video in this, Sarah.
No, because I will lose. and I won't live that down.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
8 years old.
I know, it's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, but see, she has not kissed the PBs.
No, she's not kissing.
She's putting them outside
She's going
too
to turn
early.
10 and have absolutely nowhere to go.
Amazing.
Or make it to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Either way, best of luck,
one of
Lily.
those two things.
Right, is running actually good for you?
Oh, great question. I at the weekend decided running was good for me and walking was not, because I walked 14 miles.
I reckon I would be more sore from the amount of time that takes than from the run, I think.
It was a good 4.5 hours of walking.
Wow.
So
You'd be
hard.
more sore from.
I'm more tired and sore from standing up all day doing no exercise than I am for running for an hour or two.
Yeah. But do you know why? That's probably a good first point of, is running actually good for you? Broad answer, and then we'll delve into it. I would say yes.
Okay,
If
done.
you-
Podcast over. No,
Over.
it's a
Bye.
short one
See
today.
you next week. No,
Rick will be happy with the edit.
I would say yes, it is good for you. However, it has to be done in a way that is good for you, Because like, for example, did I do any preparation for walking for 4.5 hours?
Yeah, because most people would say walking out in the fresh air, that's good for you.
Lovely, yeah. But compared to my kind of 30 to 40 minute dog walks, 4.5 hours, terrible idea. So in the same way of like, running could be really good for you. But if you've done absolutely no running at all, and then you go out and try and do an ultra marathon, then that's a silly idea, and it's probably not going to be good for you.
Yeah, that's running. Running's good for you when you do it sensibly. When you don't become too obsessed with it, and you don't try and make huge leaps forward in pace, distance, all of those things in one go, and then you end up getting hurt, and then people are like, "Oh, running's bad for me. I got injured doing running."
Yeah.
So there are some caveats, but there's loads of stuff that running does help you with. It helped me with, this is anecdotal, but helped me kind of reset my body a little bit yesterday morning. So recording this on Tuesday, I'd landed on Sunday back from Tokyo, feeling really jet lagged, went to sleep, woke up Monday morning and was sort of, I just got into my running kit and I was deliberating whether I should go out for a run or not. And then I saw some of the local runners who had clearly parked up in my village to go for a run. A bit rude, hadn't let me know, but I'll let them off. And then I wasn't even in my socks and shoes at this point, but I saw them set off and they were about to run past my house. So I literally, instead of all of the procrastination I would normally do, I went downstairs, kit on. This is how desperate I was for company.
Do you know them?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. They weren't just any runners.
Wait! You have no idea who
I'm
I am.
Andy Baddeley. I've run in
I'm
two
in the
Olympics. 2 Olympics.
No, I don't have any medals.
Had the Dream Mile somewhere in Scandinavia once. 14 years I held the parkrun record.
I didn't run over the Olympics.
Do you know who I am?
Well, this has taken a turn. Okay. Right.
Sorry, and then you went out and joined
so then
them.
it made me pull my shoes and socks on really quickly. Obviously, sock, shoe. And then straight out the door, and then I spent the first mile or so chasing them down.
Introducing yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Don't worry, I can catch up with you.
Yeah. And they were
I was in the Olympics.
Yeah. And they said, "Oh, yeah, you're my third favourite on the podcast."
Oh, yeah.
So I had a lovely run with those guys, but then that did help reset my body. So that's the point of that little anecdote. But there are huge physiological, mental, psychological benefits to running.
Well, isn't it interesting that, I mean, if you listen to this in the UK, you probably know more about it than elsewhere in the world, but the NHS is now prescribing exercise to a lot of people instead of,
for a while,
instead of like antidepressants, because it gets people out, it gets people running. Couch to 5K, obviously just pre-pandemic, got so many people into better shape, and that's kind of really well known now about how, you know, it just enhances your mood, your cognitive functions, and just gets things moving in a way that we didn't realise as much before.
We always talk about the runner's high, and there's lots of different developments in like what actually causes that. It's now actually endocannabinoids, rather
as
than
opposed to the
endorphins.
Endorphins, because there's some, I think, some studies about what can and can't pass over the blood-brain barrier. I think. So
what
Endocannabinoids.
Endocannabinoids are thought to create that runner's high, which is actually kind of cool when you think about it, because cannabinoids, cannabis, runner's high, like there is that link of it is that kind of thing in your body which gives you that euphoria that you might feel after doing a run.
Yeah, and back to the kind of, I suppose, prescribing it instead of medication. The notes that we have here says a 2019 meta-analysis published in the Journal of Affective Disorders found that aerobic exercises like running are as effective as antidepressants for some individuals. I appreciate this is not a kind of one size fits all, but that's why there's a lot of, you know, medical practitioners that are saying, well, let's try this first before taking another route. So I think that's really cool. And then exercising helps improve sleep quality, and sleep improves everything.
Yeah, sleep does improve everything.
Sleep is a superpower.
Yeah.
Rick would know.
Well,
14 hours sleep a day.
No, I think you've just got me like pre-kids, Rick. I think that's how you think about my sleep.
You used to have 14 hours of sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know when you go to the doctors and they'd say, you know, what do you sleep at night? That their mouth would always be open after I answered the question.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, when this is a bit different.
But now, now Albie's just turned 2.
Yeah.
And he's only slept through the night 9 nights in 2 years. So we've only had 9 nights sleep in 2 years. Full night's sleep.
That is pretty brutal.
Have
especially
kids,
comparing.
everybody.
Look at you two sniggering.
Well,
Andy's got 3
I've got
kids.
3
How
kids,
old's Miles?
Miles is 4.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Have you had? So does that mean you've had 18 nights sleep in the last 4 years?
Yeah, ours have been generally pretty good sleepers, I would say. The difficulty is that once you have 3, that even if on average all of them sleep through, which they do, it only takes 1 every few nights to wake up. And then you wouldn't say that kid is a bad sleeper, but it's enough to disrupt your week's sleep.
No, sometimes I wake up in a bed and I look around and go, where am I?
Yeah, but that's no different to when you in your youth.
Right, moving on to reducing stress.
No, I was going to say, they used to have so much sleep that we'd go on a night out sometimes and maybe a group of us might crash at your place after a night out. And then the next morning, we'd everyone be up making breakfast. I mean, late, but we'd all get up late, mid-morning. And then quite often there'd be a group of us that we would have had breakfast, had a chat, all that sort of stuff. It's like early afternoon, Rick's still asleep. So then you crashed at his place, but then we'd all just headed off. By the time we woke up, didn't see him until the rest of the week.
And that is why there are Botox rumours.
That's why life gave me kids like I've got. Like, right. Yeah. You get it in early, son, because you don't know what's coming down the mountain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think what you touched on earlier, though, of like going out running with friends, that is another reason of how running can be really good for you as well. Because not only just kind of going out and having that feeling after a run, but also actually being quite social. Yeah. It is like a really great way. And I do think there is something I don't know if there have been any studies to this, but you know how you can quite often have some of the deepest conversations you've ever had on a run?
No.
Well,
no,
do you not think?
I just
you
don't like
people
I don't really like chatting
you're
that much.
You're a solo runner, aren't you? Okay, well, hear me out.
I would agree 100%. Yeah. I find... So there's the real power in running with either a group or just another person. And it's the same as going out for a walk with somebody. It's much easier to talk to them openly because you're focused on where you're putting your feet, what's coming up next, and you're not looking someone in the eye, which can
agree with that.
Make those deeper conversations
I know you
more
mean
difficult.
The only caveat to that is I went on a really lovely trail run with some friends at the weekend, and trying to have and I hadn't seen them in maybe a few months, trying to have a catching up conversation
is quite hard.
Whilst also navigating, whilst trail running, that I was like,
that's
I
why
explained that
walking's
story really badly, but I almost tripped over about 10
when you're
roots.
focusing like that. But running can help reduce the amounts of cortisol, the stress hormone in your body. It can help kind of counteract that. And a study in mental health and physical activity highlighted that group exercise participants experience greater reductions in stress and improvements in mental well-being compared to those who exercised alone. So exercising is good regardless, but it's even better with friends.
100%.
Just like podcasting.
Exactly. We always used to do podcast episodes and videos on is running bad for your knees, because that always used to be the thing that people said. But actually, I think this is, it's so individual, and whenever or wherever you come into running, you do need to make sure that you are strengthening your muscles in order to be able to take it on. But actually, contrary to the running myth, or loads of different myths, running can strengthen your bones and joints by increasing your bone density and promoting the production of synovial fluid, which lubricates the joints.
I got told so much that by physios, synovial fluid. I've got to admit, I had forgotten what it was called, but how it basically by running, the cushion around your joints actually increases. But if your joints are already compromised, that's when you might need to do something else, which is when your strength training can come in, and that will enable the fluid to basically be in the right place because you'll have more muscle around those bones cushioning it.
Yeah, broadly speaking, because people will ask this, they'll say, well, Rick's had really poorly knees and that was from running, so running's bad for your knees.
Yeah.
I've had knee surgery and I did a lot of running, and the answer is that, generally speaking, running promotes all of the good stuff for your joints. If you have biomechanical inefficiencies like I had and Rick had, and I had problems from other things like other sports or whatever you did at various different points in your life, and things are imbalanced and things aren't moving in the right way, then running lots of miles on inefficient biomechanics or joints which are not
is bad
aligned or
need
whatever.
To correct it first.
Exactly. So
and most of the time it's going to be when you introduce a new stimulus. For me, every single time, the run that we do from the office, there are 2 ways to get down onto the canal. 1, you can take a nice little slope. 2, you can use the steps.
Yeah.
Every single time I go out for a run, I'm like, please don't make me use the steps. Because going up steps after running, I have not been to the gym enough and done enough squats that my knees can cope with that. But ask me to run the distances that I'm running at the moment, knees absolutely fine.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? So you've got we've sort of covered off mental health, joint and bone health. Obviously, there are physical health benefits to running as well. So running improves your cardiovascular system. We bang on about that all the time, but that's what VO2 max measures. It's kind of the effectiveness of your cardiovascular system in essence.
Yeah, it can also help your immune system too.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've seen a lot of people kind of post London Marathon who have picked up colds because when you do something that as taxing as a marathon on your body, it might kind of make you more susceptible because your immune system might be a bit weaker. But if you are doing kind of regular moderate exercise, you might have a better immune system than if you weren't.
Yeah, and you need to bear that in mind. Essentially, small amounts of or moderate exercise, like you said, is definitely going to boost your immune system overall. When you do harder exercise, which we would be encouraging as well as part of a sensible running program, that you do hard intervals or you do your long runs and stuff, you then need to acknowledge that actually after those hard efforts, that's when you can have a small immune system dip before it bounces back. So you can. That's why there's the importance of that window to kind of eat immediately as soon as you can after exercise to sort of get the nutrients in to try and combat that kind of immune system dip but you also get your adaptation from that.
Because Rick, for example, as we all know, loves moderate exercise, won't be doing anything high intensity unless explicitly told to for his job. And he's only had one cold in the last 18 years.
A really bad one. Didn't it last? It lasted about 6 weeks.
Since you said that on the podcast, I feel like you've been ill 2 or 3 times.
I have. I know.
I never get ill.
Actually, Malaga.
I haven't had a cold in 18
That's correct.
years.
Oh, here we go. So I hadn't, and then I got one, and then I got another. Malaga, though, about this, this point here about how moderate intensity running can enhance your immune function. When we did Malaga, because I was already under the weather, I then ran a half marathon and then came back and just had the worst cold. And I was, why did I do that? Because I ran when my immune system was already low and it then dipped my immune system further. And actually, looking back, probably shouldn't have done it.
That's why we always say, like, if you are, whether it's an injury or an illness, always add one more day to when you think you can go for a run.
Least,
It's just always good to be safe.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I actually think we ticked off quite a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, I think we have.
Running's good for you. Helps you live longer as well. A comprehensive review found that runners have a 25 to 40% reduced risk of premature mortality and tend to live approximately 3 years longer than non-runners.
Yeah.
Stick with us, kids. You get another 3 years of this show.
People might not want that. People are going to actively stop running.
Yeah. Maybe people be emailing in, please don't. Please don't put us through this pain anymore.
But as with everything, like, there are considerations to running. So our advice would be start gradually. Make sure that if you are thinking of kind of coming into running, especially off the back of all of the incredible races that we've seen at the moment, 1.1 million people have entered into the London Marathon.
I know, isn't that mad?
Absolute bonkers. Although I put on my Instagram story at the weekend a little meme of someone being like really happy and then really sad of like when you get excited that so many people have entered the ballot versus when you realise your chances of getting in.
Yeah.
And someone DM'd me being like, well, I think it's a lovely thing. And I was like, yes, I know. I know. But I also know the population of runners.
Compared to how many people are going to get
who will just be annoyed by that stat.
My brother was really, because I was with my brother at the weekend, he was like, have you seen how many people have entered the ballot? Because, he's done 18 applications on a run.
And still almost as many years as you not having a cold.
Yeah. And failed every single one.
Every year at the pop-up that we host, it becomes, people say it more and more hushed of like,
Yeah, they feel guilty for it.
Really guilty.
The number of people that come in and go like, I got in the first time. First time I've ever entered the ballot.
And
they're like really sheepish about it. Yeah. Don't tell anyone.
Don't tell anyone.
It's like if you're a parent with children that have the opposite experience to Rick, just don't say it. Don't tell that. When someone says, my kids just don't sleep, and you go, my kids sleep through. It's so easy.
They sleep so well. It's so easy. Yeah, life's so great.
Just keep it to yourself. No one wants to know.
Come around my gaff. Yeah. Deal with them for a night. Anyway,
I mean, isn't that what Chantal just said to you on the phone just now? Please come home and deal with the kids you want. That
wasn't Chantal. That was Alan. Oh, yeah, in the cupboard. If you don't know who Alan in the cupboard is, go back a few episodes.
Rick's handyman Alan.
Right. Well, hopefully that was useful. Should we cover some news and some questions?
Let's do it. Let's talk about Kelsey Price, who's been on the show. She ran 100k at the weekend.
Yeah, and she is British champion at over 100k. She ran it in 7 hours and 44 minutes. Which is absolutely bonkers of when you break it down, like the pace that you're running.
7 hours 44 for 100k.
Yeah.
So I can't do them, but that's 2.5 marathons in well under 8 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a no from me. Yeah,
that's
it's
incredible.
like in the 4s for kilometre
Was it on,
pace.
what surface was it on?
I think it was on like a bit of a track. Apparently, Meg from the Running Channel office went to go see her because they're friends. And she said that there was one hill which Kelsey had to do 42 times.
Which is a hill in it as well.
Yeah.
And have you done the maths? What's the average pace?
I think it was, I follow her on Strava, I think it was something like 4:30 per kilometre.
Oh my goodness.
That's like, just reminds me of Ned Brockman, who ran around that
He ran around a track
6,400 and...
Was it 1,000 miles or something?
I think it was 6,000 loops he did.
Yeah, Sarah, how many miles or kilometres did Ned Brockman do around a track?
1,000 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 4:33 per kilometre.
Wow.
Impressive.
Isn't that mad? Huge well done, Kelsey. We are absolutely in awe, and I think a bit speechless of like just how difficult that is. But yeah, it was really cool to kind of watch that coverage over the weekend and to just boggle at the numbers. So huge well done.
Right, questions. Jodie from Maidenhead. As I've gotten older, I seem to have developed hay fever. I was wondering, can hay fever affect running performance? If so, is it worth taking antihistamines or using anything else to relieve symptoms on race day to help performance?
Ooh, great question.
Can I do the... I've just... Sarah said something there that's made me think of this. I want eagle-eyed or eagle-eared podcast listeners to listen out for this because I've only started noticing it recently.
What?
Sarah loves great question. As a response to a question. It's like
what else are you going to say?
I know, but it's like
rubbish question. Awful on that. We'll answer it anyway.
But I think it's like
absolutely shocking.
I think it's your answer that gives your brain like an extra 5 seconds to
do you know as well? I went on a podcast recently, Women's Running Collective. Little plug.
They were lovely.
Go
listen
to that Australian podcast, and they asked me loads of questions, and I was so annoyed at myself listening back to it because for every single one I go like, I repeat the question and go like, oh, favourite running memory, that's a tricky one, and I'm like, just answer the question, Sarah. But yeah, that is a very good question. Go on then, Andy, give us some advice.
Let's do the medical bit first. We're not medical experts or doctors, so we're not going to recommend particular medications, but it's worth knowing that I have been through this process back in the day with the kind of British athletics doctors. I suffer with fairly severe hay fever in the summer. And obviously that's when you're competing. So that's not great. And then you travel around the world, the pollen's different. So you're constantly trying to adapt.
You sneeze a lot in the summer.
Yes.
And you like sneeze multiple times. It's quite funny.
It's not that funny. It's very unpleasant.
Have you seen Andy sneeze? No, obviously very unpleasant. But Andy's the type of person where I feel like some people can just sneeze and then carry on with their day. Whereas when you sneeze, it's literally like, that's me out for 15 minutes.
It's really pathetic.
Like it really takes over your whole...
Yeah, it's all consuming.
Like, you know, kids when they make a funny face before they sneeze, you are literally like,
It's a big build-up as well. It's a big build-up.
Yeah, for such a tiny sneeze. Right, sorry, give us some advice then. What do you do?
It's worth knowing there are lots of different types of antihistamine tablets. So it's not just, you might have taken one off the shelf and it not worked. There are loads of different ones, and look at the active ingredient because some have big brand names. And then you can, so first off, there are lots of different types. So you want to try the different active ingredients to see which ones work for you. Secondly, I would be saying don't buy the big brand name antihistamines. You can generally get generic versions from whichever pharmacy you go to, and they will be a tiny fraction of the price.
There are also lots of kind of little things that you can do depending on how severe your hay fever is. But firstly, keeping an eye on the pollen level. And there might be some days where you can go out and it won't affect you, but it's good to have an awareness of kind of how high the pollen count is.
I didn't realise it was measured in grains of pollen per cubic metre of air.
This is fascinating.
That just makes my nose feel itchy. Also, another thing that was cool from the research is avoid busy built-up roads.
Yeah.
So you might have thought, worst place for hay fever, running through a field. But actually, hay fever is twice as common in cities in the country because of air pollution.
I guess because your body's having to deal with quite a lot of stuff that you're inhaling. So those are, I guess, my understanding is that because one of the other things that we can talk about is Vaseline or some kind of barrier that essentially catches the pollen before it goes into your body. So if you smear a little bit of Vaseline or other product underneath your nose, underneath your nostrils, underneath your eyes as well, then it can kind of catch the pollen before it goes in. And
that's also a great sun cream hack as well if you put it in your eyebrows.
Oh my God.
Yeah, to stop the sun cream, the sweat from sun cream.
Definitely using that next week.
But I think that by doing that, I think what I was told is that there's a threshold above which you then experience hay fever. So if you imagine that you're trying to keep the amount of pollen that you breathe in to as minimum as possible, and effectively once for that individual person suffering hay fever, it'd be slightly different for everybody. There's a threshold above which you start experiencing symptoms. So you could breathe in a certain amount of pollen and so on from the environment and not have hay fever symptoms.
Right.
So if you use Vaseline and other things, then that could keep you below the threshold at which it starts to be really uncomfortable for you.
I see.
So that's one thing. And then similarly, sunglasses. Even when it's overcast in the summer, I'll usually run with sunglasses because that makes a massive difference to my hay fever symptoms.
Do you know what I was really surprised at? That plants release pollen early in the afternoon and late in the evening. So actually running at lunchtime is potentially the best time of day to go out. And I suppose this goes for any sport, really, if you're really affected by a high pollen count. But I always thought going out in the morning would be best for that.
To be fresh.
But actually, no. If you can get out in between 11 and 4, apparently that's the lowest time when the pollen count is lowest.
And it changes throughout the year. So I think early season hay fever is for those people that suffer more with tree pollen. And then as the summer progresses, it's grass pollen that dominates.
It's also been really windy this year in the UK, so that doesn't really help. I feel like I don't suffer with hay fever really at all. But the amount of stuff that's just blowing into your face.
Yeah. Or you can do an Owen and just run on the treadmill. Didn't he run?
Stay inside.
How far did he run on the treadmill the other week?
30k.
34k? 30, what did you?
32k.
32k. I mean, are you okay? No.
Do you know what producer Owen said this morning? So producer Owen was like, yeah, I felt like I was lacking some motivation, so I signed up to Manchester Marathon next year.
Next year.
And everyone in the office was like, how is that going to help your motivation? He was like, I've just got something to aim towards now.
That's not going to be on the same day as London next year, is it, again?
No, it's the week before.
They've switched that. I think that's a very good idea.
Consecutive weekends, you've got, I think it's something like Boston UK Marathon, Brighton Marathon, Manchester Marathon, London Marathon.
Sounds busy.
Busy
Does that mean
times.
Manchester's then the same weekend as Boston?
You would have thought so. It normally is, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
A week before London.
Oh, well, there you go. There's a little bit of help for hay fever sufferers because it can be pretty horrible.
Yeah.
Especially for Sarah dealing with my sneezes in the office.
No, I actually quite enjoy your sneezes in the office, especially if there's multiple, because you'll literally be mid-conversation. Hang on.
I do try and stifle them as well. I don't try and do like a big...
Andy, before we go, have you got a favour to ask?
Oh, no, you put me on the spot. I was listening back to last week's and we did okay. So now I'm padding so I can think about what a favour to ask.
Great.
Great question. So a couple of things. One, please consider joining the Running Channel Club. If you head to club.therunningchannel.com, you can find out a little bit more. We talk about the questions that we get in the club. We met loads of amazing club members who came and helped staff our cheer zone at the London Marathon. You get an extra episode of the podcast every week. Absolutely no pressure from us. It is a paid membership, but it's not very expensive and we love doing it. And we put a few extra bits and bobs in there. So if you want to check that out, then head to club.therunningchannel.com. Otherwise, please just recommend the Running Channel podcast in general to your friends who like running.
And we'll see you next time.
Very efficient.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.